Martin Popoff here. Welcome to another edition of the Contrarians. This is our secondary Contrarian show where we do the concept of worst album by a band. We've actually adjusted this a little bit. We had just been doing worst albums that we more or less agree upon. But then we kept getting comments once in a while saying, well, how is that a contrarian choice sort of thing? So what we've done is we're leaving kind of the title the same. We're still calling it the Contrarians' worst album. But we're picking a choice that might be a slightly contrarian choice for worst album, where there's sort of a consensus around other albums being this band's worst album, and I'm picking an album that I believe is the band's worst album rather than sort of the consensus choice. So it's back to sort of the true essence of the Contrarians. And this week we are covering a little old band you might know called Black Sabbath. Now, Black Sabbath, of course, big, huge band, massive heavy metal band, one of the first heavy metal bands of all time, along with the likes of Jimi Hendrix and Cream and Iron Butterfly and I don't know who else, Pink Floyd. Genesis was super heavy on their first album, right? So the usual choice that you see for the worst album by Black Sabbath is it's usually like Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, something like that. Paranoid, the first one, usually come pretty low down the list, and up the top of the list you see the likes of like Cross Purposes, Forbidden, Seventh Star usually comes in really high. But way down the list, okay, so let's do this. Well, so yeah, just a little history of the band, I guess, to start with. So obviously this is big British band. Great riffs, great lyrics. The drumming is incredible from Bill Ward, and Bill Ward is writing a lot of the music as well. Lyrics are really cool. They're like environmental and war lyrics and doomy, and this is OZZY writing all of this right along the way. But then, the band gets bigger and bigger and bigger. They put out an album called Technical Ecstasy, Never Say Die. They've ramped up from sort of, that platinum, double platinum zone. They're now going triple platinum. I think the last one, Never Say Die, went quadruple platinum in the States. Geezer has taken over the lyrics, the bass player of the band, right? And then it all kind of comes to a head. Geezer and Tony are out of control. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of drinking in the band. OZZY is getting like fed up with these guys. And there's a big bust up of the band at this point. So this is leading up to the record I want to talk about. And I'll tell you what that record is, and we'll give you a little history of what goes on here. So here's my choice as worst Black Sabbath album of all time. So here, what's the story of this record? So Heaven and Hell comes out in 1980. At this point in the band, the guys have lost OZZY. Wendy Dio is managing the band at this point. They don't know what to do for a vocalist. They're out doing like kind of a big search for vocalists. They think about Brian Connolly from Sweet. Sweet is busting up, but Brian Connolly takes one look at Tony and Geezer and says, these guys are a mess. I'm going to be dead if I go with these guys. Cause Brian, just like OZZY at this time was totally sober, and just did not want to get into an unprofessional situation. And finally, they looked at all these different guys. They looked at Dan McCafferty. They looked at Mark Starachi, who was coming up from this band Crocus. And then Wendy at one point says, what about my husband? And the guys, it's funny. You look at the interviews, the guys look at her and go, your husband? We didn't even know you were married. Like, this is insane, right? Like, who's your husband, right? And she says, my husband, Ronald, right? At this point, so Ronald, of course, is Ronnie James Dio. So at this point, Ronnie is with this band Chase. They're a jazz fusion band. Crazy story. It's like the Lynyrd Skynyrd story where there was a big plane crash and a lot of these guys died in this band. But so they're having a renewed version of this band. As you know, Ronnie initially started on trumpet. So he's back. He's playing trumpet in this band. So, the thought is like Ronnie hadn't done singing for a while. He doesn't like singing. He doesn't like lyrics. He's glad to be back with his first love sort of thing. but they try him out. They try out Ronnie, and you know, first Wendy says, well, he's done other things since then, since the Elf days, and she shows him like things he had been doing in Rainbow, and I remember, again, you look at the interviews, and Geezer and Tony like ticked Wendy off by basically looking, you know, saying, you call that singing? This is ridiculous. This guy's kind of a hack, but we'll try him, sort of thing, right? So they bring Ronnie in, and it all kind of works out. They essentially put out this album, Heaven and Hell. Now, does it really work out? I mean, obviously, you know, you can tell from this. You know, Ronnie, where are we over here? Ronnie signed my album. You know how he often signs things. He puts magic, and so in this one he put on mine, he put magic ? Maybe next time, which is kind of funny. Geezer, I don't have Tony and Bill on this one, but Geezer put more like Hell and Hell, right? So as you can tell, things did not go great on this record, and that's why, you know, it's consistently rated one of the worst Sabbath albums of all time. But yeah, let's go through it a little, and I'll tell you why I picked it at the bottom. Like I say, usually it comes sort of well below the middle, kind of bottom quarter, bottom third, but not the really bottom. Like the worst Sabbath albums, consistently people bring up Sabotage, people bring up Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Paranoid. Okay, so first off, you know, before you even get into the music, you get this album cover, right? So I remember getting this. So in 1980, I was like 17 years old, and I looked at that and I thought, yeah, that's really cool. But this record had come out like 9 months before, and it's like, well, okay, so you're ripping on Van Halen. What are you saying? You're the next Van Halen, sort of thing. So that, I thought that was pretty cheap. You look at the back, and the guys are looking like, you know, oh, what are we, some sort of new hair band? You know, they all got really nice hair, and it's like, oh, what is this going to be, a hair metal album, sort of thing? It's kind of ridiculous. And this guy over here, Bill Ward, he looks like he's, you know, in Jethro Tull or something like that, right? So I'm wondering, you know, what kind of record is this going to be? And sadly, it's not a good record at all. I mean, just to go through the songs quickly, you've got Neon Nights on here, which is a little bit of a punk rock song, but who wants them doing punk rock? You know, one of the best songs on here is Walk Away. I'm the track order on here doesn't match the track order of the record, but I'm just looking on the back here. So Walk Away has one of the best riffs on this, with that you know, it's really cool, super heavy, and just one of probably the most inspired songs ever did. There's a title track on here called Heaven and Hell. It's okay. It's not a bad song. It probably, you know, like they never played that song live, but it probably would have been a good live song, I think. Die Young. So here you've got Die Young and Children of the Sea on here. And this is a situation. So Ronnie's writing the lyrics. Die Young is about child labor in the garment district of India, and Children of the Sea is also about you know, against child labor in the fishing industry in Bangladesh. Lonely as the Word is on here, which is kind of a bluesy tune, and you know, I kind of wish Sabbath would do more blues. I would like to see a whole blues album from Tony. Tony always called them a blues band, and that's exactly what they are. They are not a heavy metal band. They're literally almost like a pure blues band, like a Groundhogs or something like that. But I would love to see Tony do more blues, or even something like, you know, he could have done a jazz fusion album with Ronnie, kind of thing, right? Wishing Well is on here. Again, probably the second best track on this album. A really cool tune, reminds me a little bit of The Who. And then Lady Evil is on here, and of course that is about Wendy, right? It's about Wendy Dio, because, you know, things were not going well with this situation with Wendy managing the band, and of course Sharon Osbourne would soon take over. So there you go. Yeah, one more. I had one more prop out. So you know, Ronnie has these lyrics on Heaven and Hell, and blind your eyes and steal your, you know, the world's full of kings and queens and all that. And I thought, yeah, Kings and Queens, you know, Aerosmith already had a song called Kings and Queens. So I thought that was a little stupid. So they're doing a lot of copying of people on this record. And it's just not a good Black Sabbath record. I mean, Born This Way with Ian Gillan, way better record. You've got the Seventh Star album and all that great Tony Martin stuff, which did really well for them. That last one with OZZY was incredible. So there you go. Worst Black Sabbath album, Heaven and Hell. let us know what you think. I'm not sure when this is going up. I think Marcos got it scheduled for April 1st. But let us know what you think in the comments. Please support us on Patreon. We've got exclusive comment over there. I've recently put some stuff up on Stars and Status Quo. But yeah, any Patreon support we can get is really appreciated, and we're going to keep flooding that with original content. And we'll be back with some more regular Contrarian shows. So signing off for the Contrarians Worst Album Edition. This is Martin Popoff. Talk to you next time.
That's it, dude.